This is the Sean Hannity Show podcast.
This is how we roll. We light it up with our hands up. This is how we roll.
Going out and voting, it's your last chance. It's your last chance to make our country truly, truly, truly great again.
Let's get out! Let's vote for the future! Let's vote for what we want for our country and our children and our grandchildren! God bless you!
The countdown to saving America is on. T-minus 1 day until Election Day. Freedom is back in style. Welcome to the revolution.
We burning down the night, shooting bullets at the moon, baby. This is how we roll.
Sean Hannity. The new Sean Hannity Show. More behind-the-scenes information on breaking news and more bold, inspired solutions for America.
All right, how you doing? Happy Election Eve, I guess we should call this. Glad you are on board. Let me start today by telling you the following, and I'm going to go over some poll numbers. Just forget the polls at this point. And I do believe in polls. I do. Let me say this. This is a winnable race. There is a real shot to save this country from its precipitous decline, and it's in your hands. It's up to you. It's up to your friends, your neighbors, your family, and you know the states that matter. You know the states that are in play, and you know if you're in one of them. By the way, every state matters, even the ones that Mitt Romney won, and won by significant margins. Yeah, they matter. They matter a lot, but you can't take anything in this game for granted. Now, I go back to 2007, and I go back to 2008, and I go back to 2012, and what do I see and what do I hear? I see that I tried to warn America how bad it was going to be under Barack Hussein Obama. I wish I was wrong, but I wasn't wrong, and I'm not wrong now. What is at stake here is whether or not America is going to elect the single biggest liar, the most corrupt, the most dishonest, the most self-enriching individual ever to seek the U.S. presidency. That is what is at stake here. The differences are deep. The differences are profound. You know, what happened this weekend, with the FBI director is a disgrace. Now, either one or the other is true. Either the FBI director is lying or the agents are lying. And I tend to trust the agents right now over James Comey because James Comey seems afraid of his own shadow. I don't know if he's in this for his own job. I have no idea what his motivation is here. But the bottom line is my head's still spinning over James Comey's announcement, that Hillary's once again in the clear as far as the FBI is concerned, and no word about the pay-to-play scandal, no word about the Clinton Foundation. It has to be the biggest case of pre-election investigative whiplash this country has ever seen. It's made worse by the fact that once again there's a ton of new evidence. Nobody in the media, and by the way, there's a reckoning later this week on this program with the news media in this country. There's a day of reckoning with the Republican Party after this election tomorrow. And those that have sabotaged, and those so-called intellectual conservatives that are smarter than everybody else, if you don't see the profound, distinct differences in this race, you're never going to see it. And aiding and abetting and assisting the single most corrupt person is unconscionable to me. It's so beyond irresponsible in politics. We've got tons of new evidence on the table. James Comey, to have reached this decision, he would want you to believe that they spent 270 days going over 30 to 32,000 emails and only 8 days to sort through 650,000 emails and come to the same conclusion. That's what they want you to believe. And she, Uma Abedin, she was legally obligated to turn over the laptop. with her perv husband, Anthony Weiner, which had thousands of Hillary's State Department emails, some of which the FBI had never seen before. And yet she failed to do so. She broke the law. You know, mishandling of classified information, that breaks the law, too. And destroying evidence breaks the law. And erasing evidence with bleach bit, that's a violation of the law. It's unbelievable. And, of course, now we have Hillary's cleaning lady. Well, she was able to handle top secrets and special access program information. That's against the law, too. But nobody's moving at the FBI. It's an embarrassment. And that means that there's two justice systems, one for the rich, one for the powerful, one for the connected, one if you're in the right party, one if the Department of Justice is colluding with your campaign, the media is colluding with your campaign, the State Department's colluding with your campaign, the White House is colluding with your campaign, and then there's the rest of us. You know, poor schmucks that we are, we don't have the connections. You know, later in the program, I'll bring on for a few minutes Kathleen Saucier, and her mother she's the mother of U.S. Navy Sailor Kristian Saucier. And even though it was okay in 2009 to have cell phones on submarines and he took pictures, he's in jail today for taking 6 pictures in his submarine. Good grief. If that doesn't make the point that I'm trying to make, I don't know what will. There are deep and profound and significant things in play here. Regardless of Comey and the gang that can't shoot straight that's running the Justice Department and the corruption that is rampant in the Justice Department and this ridiculous investigation, Hillary Clinton, this is a fact, that we now know that there's a 99% certainty that 5 foreign intelligence agencies got to her email and hacked it, which means and just what she did was irresponsible. She put our nation's secrets at risk. Top secret, classified, special access programs, which is the highest level of classification, at risk. She compromised our national security. That's a fact. She simply thinks she is above the law. She plays by her own rules. And that has been her pattern and her family's pattern for their entire self-enriching careers. And the American people should not have to endure 4 more years of their scandal and this baggage and this corruption. You know, the American people, you have the opportunity. As Donald Trump said in Michigan yesterday, it's now your chance, America, to deliver justice. I warned you about 2007 and 2008. We went deep into the weeds of Obama's radicalism. Frank Marshall Davis, a Linsky disciple, Acorn activist, the Church of G.D. America, Black Liberation Theology, America's chickens coming home to roost, hanging out with unrepentant domestic terrorists, and America didn't listen. And where are we today? We are in far worse shape than we ever imagined. And this whole campaign, Hillary Clinton, she could never run on Obama's economy. I'll get to that in detail. She could never win on her foreign policy failures. The only thing she had is mud and dirt and sleaze and slime. And, yeah, Donald Trump's not perfect. I'm the first to say so. He's not perfect. By the way, neither am I, and neither are any of you. All have sinned and fallen short. But when you look at the substance of what is at stake here, the substance, issue 1, how about originalists on the Supreme Court versus liberal judicial activists? Those that don't recognize separation of powers, those that don't recognize co-equal branches of government, those that would cite foreign law and foreign constitutions to justify their activism. This will impact your country for generations to come. That is what is at stake tomorrow. That is what you're voting on tomorrow. The economy. You want to cut taxes? You want to incentivize multinational corporations that won't bring their money into this country because we have one of the most confiscatory corporate tax rates in the world? So they park their money, their profits overseas, which means they're not going to build factories and manufacturing centers and put people in Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania back to work. That's your choice. Hillary will raise taxes $1.2 trillion. She'll raise spending $1.4 trillion. What about energy independence? Hillary keeps saying, oh, I'm going to put coal miners out of work. I'm glad I'm not a coal miner today because my whole future may be hanging in the balance in this election. And she's not going to, and she's going to put coal companies out of business. Oh, that's great. That's just awesome. You want a president that can identify our enemy, radical Islamists, or no? You want a president that will vet refugees and set up safe zones, help people that are victims of a civil war, but not bring them here, especially people from countries whose laws and culture and values directly contradict our constitutional values? That's what's at stake here. You want border security so 95 million Americans out of the labor force don't have to compete with illegal immigrants for jobs? That's what's at stake. You want borders secure so ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any of these terrorist groups don't get to your town, your city, your state? That's what's at stake here. You want to rebuild our military, or you want America's military to continue its precipitous decline? That's what's at stake here. What do you want the role of the U.S. to be in the world? To be tough, to be a leader, to be so military strong we don't get messed with? Or do you want to continue our decline? You want to fix the VA? What did Hillary do to fix the VA? Nothing. What did Obama do? Nothing. Education. You want to send it back to the states, municipalities, towns, and cities and give your children choice, especially in inner cities where we pay more per capita per student and we're 20, 22, 26 in terms of reading, writing, and math. Okay, well, that's great. Institutionalized failure. That is what this election is about. This is what is in play tomorrow. You know, the worst economy since the 1940s, recovery since the 1940s. Great job in 8 years, Obama. The lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. And don't believe your government's phony unemployment numbers. They are dishonest and they are corrupt by design because they don't count the chronically unemployed. 13 million more Americans on food stamps since Obama became your president. 8 million more Americans in poverty. A 51-year low in the home ownership rate. He's the first president never to reach 3% GDP growth in American history. 1 in 5 American families don't have a single family member in the labor force. 1 in 6 American men 18 to 34 either are in jail or living in mommy's basement. If you're a black American, oh, he did great. 93% black America voted for Obama. 58% increase black Americans on food stamps since he's been president. 20% increase black Americans out of the labor force. Even a lower home ownership rate than ever before. And by the time, by the way, he leaves office, your president of the last 8 years will accumulate more debt than every other president before him combined. I warned you about him. I told you this was going to happen. And sure enough, it has happened. And that's what's at stake tomorrow. She doesn't want fracking. No, you know, on energy alone, coal miners out of work, coal companies out of business. She's against domestic drilling, against fracking. Well, she's for it and against it. In private, she's for it when she talks to Wall Street. But in reality, she's against it because you say one thing privately and you have a different position publicly. So Hillary's more interested in keeping her rich Saudi, Middle Eastern friends, Qatari friends, you know, people that are in countries where women are abused, marital rape is legal, marital beatings is legal, women can't drive, women told how to dress, women told if they can go to work or school, gays and lesbians murdered. She takes millions and millions from those people. She'll keep those people in business, but we won't create American jobs, the lifeblood of our economy, by becoming energy independent if you elect her. And then, of course, Christians and Jews are persecuted too, but, you know, that's a side note. That's what's at stake in this election. Oh, remember the promise? Like your doctor, keep your doctor. Like your plan, keep your plan. On average family saves $2,500 a year. Okay, well, Hillary supported it, bragged Obamacare is really Hillary care. Millions of Americans lost their doctor. Millions lost their plan. And on average, the American family is now paying $4,100 more per family per year since Obama put Obamacare in play. And you're expecting a 100% increase this year. Isn't that exciting? Epic fail. Talk about top-down government. There you have it. Failure. Donald Trump, he wants portability. On all of these issues, haven't even talked about refugees. I'll get to that. Haven't talked about Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Libya, North Africa, Benghazi, the Middle East, supporting a former Muslim Brotherhood head in Morsi. Haven't talked about China, the Russian reset, China's territorial ambitions, all of the Iranian deal, $150 billion to the number one state sponsor of terror. You're going to get the country you deserve tomorrow. You're going to get what you ask for tomorrow. And if you're too lazy and too comfortable and you don't care and you don't think it's going to impact you, you don't know how serious this election is. It may be, especially because of immigration, refugees, a 650% increase, open borders, this might be your last shot. And by that, Democrats have wanted to shift the demographics of this country so that they will have a permanent majority for decades to come. That's what's at stake here. And they think, oh, this person has been more likely to vote Democrat. Well, invite those people in. And that's what's in play. We have a lot more to get to. We'll check in with Newt. We'll check in with Ann Coulter today. And pretty much it's you and me in the and phone calls. Do your job. Vote. I warned you in 2008. Warned you in 2012. I'm warning you today. And the states that matter, you know who you are and where you are and whether or not your state is in play. You know what's going on. Tell your friends, help the old lady next door, get to work, get out and vote. If you're in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire, go vote. If you're in Ohio, Iowa, go vote. If you're in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, go vote. If you're in New Mexico, Colorado is huge. Utah is huge. Arizona, Nevada, all in play. This election can be won. It's tight. From my perspective, it is very, very tight. Every vote is going to matter.
Hannity Headline. A bite-sized version of the show that you can take with you everywhere you go. To sign up today for Hannity Headlines, go to Hannity.com.
All right, 25 now till the top of the hour, 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Anyway, how you feeling? Any of you nervous? What are your predictions in there? Let's go through predictions. Linda, you've been saying Trump's going to win the whole way. You think he's going to win, huh?
Trump's going to win.
What do you think, Ethan? Where are you in this?
50-50.
50-50. Jason, where are you?
I'll be extremely disappointed if Trump doesn't win in a landslide.
What do you think, Lauren?
I think he can pull it off in a landslide.
Wow, you guys are so optimistic. I'm not there. I'm with Ethan at 50-50. It all depends on if people show up tomorrow. I can't stand, it drives me nuts. I'm not Pollyanna in any way, shape, or form. I'm just not. And to me, I think this is all about whether or not the American people show up. And you know what states are important. You know what states are in play. You know what's at stake in this election. And it's a matter of how bad you want to change your country for the better. Because I think that is what's going to be key. All comes down to turnout. I can go over the states again and again, but every single state matters. Every single vote is going to matter, or else you're going to get the single most dishonest, the single biggest most corrupt individual ever to run for the presidency in office. And God help all of us, because their ideology and philosophy is worse than Obama's. You know, look, I'll tell you the states often. Florida is, let me put it this way. I think Florida is going to be a 2-point race. Either way, 1 to 2 point race. Either way. That's how close it is. I think North Carolina, I'll go through some of the early voting numbers. They look good. Trump is plus 130 in Florida, plus 142,000 North Carolina. He's in a lead of 7,000 in Colorado. Those are all must-win states now for Donald Trump. Iowa is a must-win state. Colorado is really... Colorado needs to mitigate Nevada, which I didn't like the early voting numbers. Donald Trump's going to need a big day of voting in Nevada. Arizona is critical. I'd love to see New Mexico back in play, and it's possible. I've seen polls that are just so close for Trump in New Mexico. So your vote's obviously going to matter. I'd love to see Virginia flip. There hasn't been a lot of talk about Virginia, and I think Northern Virginia is going all in for Hillary. I mean, they have now altered so many states. And then you got the problem of New Yorkers, people from New Jersey. They all want to move down to Florida because the taxes, there's no state income tax. The weather's better. And they move down to Florida, and they bring their stupid liberal policies that destroyed the states they're leaving with them. It ought to be mandated that if you're a dumb liberal and you ruined a state, you're not allowed to go to a state that actually is progressive in the sense that they don't buy into big government everything. Michigan, I'd love to see Michigan in play. I'd love to see Wisconsin and Minnesota. It's so frustrating sometimes. Pennsylvania, let's see how many votes they can steal in Philly this year. Let's see. Hannity, you can't prove that. Okay, just put a couple of guys with baseball bats in front of a polling place, and I'm sure that's going to be fine with everybody else. Not me. Not particularly fine with me. We learned this weekend. We know that Hillary Clinton, she's above the law, plays by her own rules. There's two-tier system of justice in this country, one for all of us and one for the Clintons. State Department contractors detailing how Clinton and her team ignored all the security rules. People aren't paying attention to it. It's unbelievable. Hillary Clinton allows her foreign cleaning lady, to handle top secret information. That's a crime, James Comey. Destroying, mishandling classified information. That's a crime, James Comey. Hillary's economy, what's she going to do? Raise the minimum wage? We'll lose jobs. Hike taxes? We'll lose investment. Subsidize solar panels? I thought we tried that with Solyndra. A lot of good that did. None of this is going to work out the way she said, just like nothing Obama did worked out. Now, back to polling. Look, no poll really matters at this late hour, but the poll that got it right in 2004, in 2008, and 2012 was IBD, Investors Business Daily Tip Poll, and it was tied most of this election, and now it shows a break for Trump, but it's only 2 points. It's his biggest lead in the IBD poll. Early voting suggests that Clinton is lagging in North Carolina. Now, don't take that as I don't have to vote tomorrow. It means North Carolina. If he wins North Carolina, Iowa, Ohio, and Florida, it's game on. Then it's game on. If he doesn't win Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Iowa, it's game over. Do you understand? So as you're watching the results come in, pay very close attention. Donald Trump needs to win North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, and Iowa. And then he needs another state. Colorado, Nevada would be nice. And then New Hampshire would be nice. I can't believe the live free or die state could vote for the single most corrupt individual to ever be president. But it's possible. Rasmussen has Clinton +2. The LA Times track has Trump +5. I think that's probably off. We learned if you look at some of the breakdown here, it is pretty interesting. I'll go over, for example, Florida first and foremost. But anyway, Trump is outperforming Romney by 130,000 in Florida in early voting. Now, remember, Romney lost Florida. Anyway, data shows the presidential, Matt Drudge has it up on his website if you want to read it, outperforming Republican nominee 2012, Mitt Romney went into Election Day down 161,000 in absentee ballots and early voting. He ended up losing the state by 74,000 votes. This time, Donald Trump is only down 32,000 versus the 161,000 that Romney was down. And Republicans tend to outvote Democrats on Election Day. You know what that means if you're in Florida? If you're on the east coast of Florida, the west coast of Florida, South Florida, if you're in the Panhandle, if you're in Orlando, I-4 corridor, Tampa, if you're in Jacksonville, get out and vote, please. Please. We can't go through another 520 whatever Chad swinging, hanging, dimpled and pimpled moment. God help us if we have to live through that again. There are multiple scenarios where we can get to 269. Interesting. North Carolina, I just told you about. I think this is pretty interesting. North Carolina, it's in 2012. Romney hit Election Day down 447,000 votes based on early ballots. He went on to win the state by 97,000. He was down nearly 500,000, and he won by nearly 100,000. Anyway, Trump opens Election Day 150,000 votes better than Romney, and Romney won by 205,000. But Trump is still down 305,000. Romney was down 447,000, and Romney won by 97,000. Remember, I was not happy. North Carolina was too close to call for too long on election night back in 2012. So these are all things to watch. One thing that looks pretty good, it shows me that I think Colorado's in play. A lot of early voting out there. But anyway, Republicans took a lead in early voting in Colorado at the end of the day Friday, and they held the advantage through the weekend. Pretty robust efforts to get out the vote on the Democratic side. As of this morning, in Colorado, Republicans cast 652,380 ballots for Trump. Now, we assume for Trump. Compared to 645,020 for registered Democrats, registered Republicans versus registered Democrats. All right, that's only 7,360 vote advantage for the Republicans. But it's still an advantage. 35.2% Republican, 34.8% Democrat, 28.5% unaffiliated. And it's worth noting that not all the Republicans, are voting for the GOP candidate. Probably most are not voting the other way. Anyway, if you go back in the election, Obama won the last two election cycles. Before that, Bush won the two election cycles. Before that, Colorado picks the president. Colorado can very well pick this president, although in 96 they didn't. Bob Dole won. So, that's what's going on. By the way, wouldn't it be amazing to humiliate the news media? Wouldn't it be amazing to do that? I think it would. By the way, nearly half of Florida voters now have already cast their ballot. Half. I do not like early voting. I do not like it. Just lends itself to corruption. By the way, in New Mexico, Clinton leads. Statewide survey of voters there shows a 2-point advantage. Those 5 electoral votes in New Mexico could be the difference for Donald Trump. Those 4 electoral votes in New Hampshire could be the difference for Donald Trump. If we could ever get Pennsylvania really in play, this could be the year. If you are out of work, Michigan, if you're out of work, if you're sick of a declining economy, if you'd like to bring manufacturing back to your states. By the way, fracking is huge in Pennsylvania. Good luck with Hillary. Good luck good luck bringing, with the highest corporate tax rate, good luck bringing money back. This is about cutting and raising taxes, energy independence or dependence, Obamacare, repeal and replace or keep it, originalist versus activist justices, saying radical Islam or being afraid, vetting refugees and setting up, safe zones for those that are victims of a civil war or bringing them all here, border security for jobs and against radicals that want to bring harm to our country, our VA, our education, deep and profound differences. Deep and profound. In the case of refugees, Hillary wants a 550% increase. Great. James Clapper, James Comey, Mike Steinbeck, CIA Director Brennan, Homeland Security Chair McCall, General John Allen all said ISIS will infiltrate that population. Trump says, let's vet them. Extreme vetting. That'd be smart. Same with the wall. America's military is in decline. Trump says peace through strength. Modernize our weaponry. America can't engage in foreign wars where we send people to fight, bleed, and die and then say, oh, never mind. As Hillary said, oh, just a mistake. We got to learn from it. Unbelievable. You want more of Iraq and Syria? Vote for Hillary. You want to give the number one state sponsor of terror, Iran, $150 billion and the right to spin their centrifuges and partner with Putin for missile defense? It's the worst deal in the history of mankind. Just like Syria, the red line in the sand. Just like Libya, 600 separate requests for security denied before the attack. The Red Cross, Great Britain got out. Stevens and others begging for help. During the attack, you have brave Americans having to walk out of a stand-down order to protect other Americans because Hillary's debating whether or not we need Libya's permission to save Americans and debating whether or not rescue troops need to be out of uniform. That's what she did. And then, of course, the lies afterwards. She tells her daughter, the Libyan president, the Egyptian prime minister, it was a terrorist attack, while simultaneously telling you, the American people, it's a spontaneous demonstration. They just happen to have RPGs in their back pocket. They just happen to have mortars in their car that they decided to fire upon the compound. Really? How about supporting, the former Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohammed Morsi with F-16s and tanks and $1.5 billion taxpayer dollars? And what about the disastrous Russian reset, the Ukraine Crimea annexation? They did nothing. North Korea, no respect for this president. They'll have no respect for her either. China, none, zero. Zip, nada. Why would we ever do these things? But according to James Comey, it took 270 days to go through 30,000 emails, and it took only 8 days to go through 650,000. You believe that, or is your government corrupt? I'd argue your government's corrupt. I'd argue that we're in trouble. By the way, Iraqi Christians, you know who they're praying for? Donald Trump. There has been a mass genocide. We've covered it on this program. Nahrain Anwaya. How many times have we had her on talking about Christian genocide and the Yazidis and the Christians slaughtered? By the way, 99.3% of all refugees are Muslim. Done nothing to help the Christian refugees. Why? I'd like to know the answer to that. We've got so much going on and so much at stake here, so much that matters. I wish I could, I feel like we've done our job, but you've got to do your job. I tell my son all the time, okay, yeah, all right, I give you what you want, but with the things you get come responsibility. And I've got rules for it. You got to be a good person. Love God and your neighbor as yourself. Never do drugs. Drink, if you have a drink, don't be an idiot. I gotta give him special, dispensation not to be an idiot when he's 21. Treat women with respect. They are human beings with hearts and minds and souls that have mothers and fathers that love them dearly. Your job is to get good grades. Your job is, you play sports, is to be a good teammate, and to follow these rules. And that with living in a country like America comes responsibility. You're an informed audience. You can make the difference in all of those states that I mentioned. Tomorrow I'll be shouting it out all day. And I'm going to remind you today, do not believe the exit polls. Don't worry about the polls. And with all due respect, get your ass off the couch, off the chair, out of your car, and if you have to wait hours, bring a lounge chair and go wait online and vote and do your civic duty. And we can start the process of undoing the mess that I warned you would happen 8 years ago.
This is the Sean Hannity Show podcast.
This is how we roll. We light it up with our hands up. This is how we roll.
Going out and voting, it's your last chance. It's your last chance to make our country truly, truly, truly great again.
Let's get out! Let's vote for the future! Let's vote for what we want for our country and our children and our grandchildren! God bless you!
The countdown to saving America is on. T-minus 1 day until Election Day. Freedom is back in style. Welcome to the revolution.
We burning down the night, shooting bullets at the moon, baby. This is how we roll.
Sean Hannity. The new Sean Hannity Hannity Show. More behind-the-scenes information on breaking news and more bold, inspired solutions for America.
All right, hour two, Sean Hannity Show, our final edition before Election Day, which is tomorrow. It's not Wednesday, it's tomorrow, in case you needed to know. One thing I want to warn you about, if you remember back in the day, Jimmy Carter's early concession, 1980, and it was a lot of controversy and a lot of blame was given to down-ballot losses to Democrats in western states, and by both politicians and media outlets have been pretty religious about not reporting the results of exit polling until everyone's voted. That is going to change tomorrow, and I want to give you an admonition. This year, you've got a handful of different projects underway that will disrupt the rhythm and flow of information on Election Day. Slate, Radical Left, Vice News, Radical Left, have partnered with a company that is helmed by Obama and Bush campaign veterans. They will be giving out real-time projections of how the candidates are faring in each state throughout the day. And they're going to start posting this at around 8 a.m. Now, there's great danger here. There's a reason why the AP and ABC and CBS and NBC and even the Clinton News Network, wasn't that nice of CNN to ask for questions from the DNC about what they should be asking Republican candidates? It was very thoughtful of CNN to do that. Fox News and others have, literally, they don't give you the exit polls. I'll get them tomorrow. I'll give you information based on what I see, but not like this. There's a danger here. And the danger is, number one, they want to impact the race, obviously, for Hillary. Number two, they're going to lie to you. Exit polls are notoriously, as we all know, bad and wrong. Please do not pay attention to that tomorrow. Joining us now, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Here we are, final day. How you feeling?
Listen, I'm feeling great. Let me start by saying everybody listening to us should go to foxnews.com and get Pat Caddell's absolutely amazing article on his analysis of what's happening and why he believes Trump will win in a landslide. Caddell was Jimmy Carter's pollster, and there's always been a populist, and his article is as stunning as anything I've read all year long and sort of confirms my bias, which is that Trump will win tomorrow. But a couple of quick things. You may have already covered this because you certainly know as much or more than I do about these things. I just look around. I look at 538 this morning coming out and saying they believe that Trump will carry Florida. I look at CNN, of all places, coming out and saying they believe, based on their early voting analysis, that Trump will carry North Carolina. I look at the Denver Post a few minutes ago, which just came out and said that the Republicans passed the Democrats over the weekend in early voting. And I look at the newest poll out of Pennsylvania, which shows Trump up by 1, which may not be enough to overcome vote theft in Philadelphia, but is certainly a remarkable turnaround.
Well, Michigan,
from 2
too.
weeks ago.
And Michigan is in play as well. And look, you've been the one that's been saying it for weeks. I never believed it. But I'm beginning to believe, that, especially because of Obamacare in a state like Minnesota, that, and they have a history for voting for outsiders, that there's
Fine.
Minnesota may be in play more than we think. Look, I am.
That's right. The state that gave you Jesse Ventura as governor could vote for Donald Trump.
That would be amazing. Let me start with what happened over the weekend and James Comey saying that he had seen no evidence. Here's a guy that it took him 270 days to go through 32,000 emails, but he was able to, in record time, review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. It's pretty talented, don't you think?
Oh, you know what makes it funnier? The State Department today said it was going to take them 5 years. 5 years to go through 33,000 emails.
Yeah.
Now, explain to me how the FBI could go through 650,000 in 8 days, and the State Department can't do 10% of that in less than 5 years.
Look,
I mean, this is an absurdity, and it just tells you that the corruption, as my good friend Randy Evans points out, the corruption is a cancer, and if you don't cut it out, it keeps growing. And we're now seeing how a corrupt Justice Department is beginning to corrupt the FBI, and that's genuinely frightening, because if law enforcement becomes corrupted, you don't have the rule of law.
No, you've lost your country. Let's be honest. And what's fascinating, either one or two people are lying. Either James Comey's lying or the FBI rank and file are lying, and I'm putting my money that the rank and file is trying to tell us the truth.
Absolutely, and it's sad. I don't know what happened to Comey. I don't know if it was just the sheer pressure from the president and the attorney general, but this whole thing is an absurdity. And by the way, I had several people who you know well, Vince Haley and who wrote, and Ross Worthington, who wrote me a memo the day Comey said they were reopening the case. They wrote me a memo that said, this is a trap, and he will come back on the weekend before the election and announce that everything has been cleared. Now, they wrote me that 8 or 9 days before it happened, and I thought that was pretty remarkably prescient on their part. And their argument was that the whole thing was a setup to try to give Hillary one last boost.
You know, it's really amazing to me. You have sort of very gently, in a sort of big brotherly type way, you know, been chastising me every time I look at the more conventional path to 270 and saying that all bets are off this election. Now, I do think there's a certain amount of conventional behavior that'll take place. I think all of the Romney states will go for Trump. I really believe that, including North Carolina, which is the one that Clintons have played the hardest for. I mean, we're now plus 142,000 where we were this time in 2012 in North Carolina. We're plus 130,000 in Florida. We're plus 7,300 now in Colorado. And, you know, look, from my perspective, it's all about 270. To get to 270, Donald Trump needs to win Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Iowa. We got to start there. He can't lose any one of those states. And then from there.
So let's stipulate he's going to win all four.
I'm more worried about Florida. Why do I worry more than you do?
Well, look, I first of all, I don't worry very much. And second, I've been through a lot of elections.
Yeah.
I just know that when Trump went back to Florida and told everybody it was a second home, that he crushed the senator from
Marco
Florida.
Rubio. Yeah.
Think about this. But think about it. I mean, here's a good guy, home state senator, very popular guy. And when Marco ran into the Trump operation, he just couldn't compete with him in Florida. So I start from there. Second, I believe that Matt Towery has written a very extensive memo. Matt knows Florida. He's done polling there for 40 years. He says if you look at where the turnout's really going up, it is really going up among white voters who are conservative, almost making the case people made after Romney lost, that there really was 5 or 10 million additional votes out there that simply were turned off. Now, you see this, by the way, in Ohio, because where Romney really underperformed in Ohio was in the Ohio River Valley, which is a very blue-collar area. Well, Trump is running up enormous margins in that part of the state. I just was talking a little while ago with Reince Priebus, because Calista and I were driving across part of central Wisconsin, and Reince was saying that the area we were driving through, Ron Johnson is carrying it. Congressman Duffy's getting reelected in a landslide, and Trump is carrying it by a substantial margin. And so you start seeing these places build, and I know Florida reasonably well, and I would be very surprised to see Trump not carry Florida. So let's stipulate. Even CNN now says he's going to carry North Carolina. Everybody agrees he's going to carry Ohio, and he's going to carry Iowa. And let's stipulate for your purposes he's going to carry Florida. That already makes him dramatically more successful than Mitt Romney was. And I say that to remind all the never-Trumpers that everything they said about Trump as a candidate was wrong. Not only is he not Barry Goldwater, not only is he not going to get crushed, we're now arguing about how much better than Romney he will be, not whether he will be better.
I hope it's all true. Look, if you would have told me even 2 weeks ago that he'd be fighting hard in Pennsylvania and Michigan and maybe even Minnesota, I wouldn't have believed it. Here's my path.
Wait a second. I told you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know you said. Why do you have to? I told you.
Fighting everywhere. I told you 2 weeks ago.
You did.
He will be fighting virtually everywhere.
And I told you Obama was going to be horrible, and you thought I was a mean person.
You know, I know you were sadly, you were right there.
A little known fact, New calls me once, and you said to me, "Wow, you're really hitting him hard. You better be careful."
Yeah.
Listen, I go all in. I'm all in my friendships. I'm all in life. I don't hold back. It's who I am. It's the way I'll always be. But I think he's got to. If he wins those states, Florida, North Carolina, and I'm not taking them for granted. Ohio, I'm not taking it for granted. Iowa, I'm not taking it for granted. But I think he will. But, we're still looking at 2 or 3 point margins here. That's how close it is.
Right.
If anybody thinks their vote doesn't matter, it matters in a big way. Then we've got to now hold all the states that Mitt Romney won, and now we got to start flipping a few, like Nevada, which, by the way, I don't like the early voting numbers in Nevada. Colorado, I am happy with the early vote numbers, but it's very close. I could see Colorado. We're not knowing the number for how long. I don't know. So I'd like to see Colorado. I'd like to see New Hampshire. And then if we could take Pennsylvania and throw it over the top, then we get into landslide territory.
All right. And then you'd like to pick up Michigan, and you'd like to pick up Wisconsin and maybe Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Look, I think all of that would be great.
And at that point, you have the national elite in a state of total stupor, sitting there staring at the wall, wondering what happened to the country that they were dominating, because this would be a new and a very different America.
It would be new, good, and different in a positive way. Look,
that's exactly right.
I keep breaking down what this election is about. This is not very complicated. It is, to me, it's about, all right, do we want originalists on the Supreme Court, or are we going to put the hardcore left judicial activists that Hillary will put on? Do we want refugees increased to 550%, or do we want to vet them so we know that if they come from countries and cultures that have values that are the antithesis of our constitutional values, that will keep America safe first, and then we can help people with safe zones, et cetera? Do we want to build a wall so we don't have competition for jobs and that Al-Qaeda or ISIS doesn't cross our open border? And then it becomes about the economy, raising taxes or lowering taxes, eliminating Obamacare, keeping Obamacare, coal miners out of work, coal companies out of business or not. All the things you and I have discussed. I won't go through the list again, but there's profound differences here. Profound.
Well, first of all, this is the biggest choice election of my lifetime.
It really is.
The difference in the two directions is astonishing. The difference in the signal it will send about what kind of America we want to be is astonishing. And I think that a lot of that, we have to admit, Donald Trump made possible. Without his courage and without his willingness to go out there and be this extraordinary first-time candidate who just said what he believed, and while he made mistakes on occasion, the authenticity of having him tell the truth as he understood it has created a genuine movement. This is not something small. This is a genuine movement. Those of us who care about it are going to have to sit down after the election and think through exactly what drain the swamp means and how we're going to drain the swamp, which will be a huge challenge. But I am encouraged that we really have the most vivid, most exciting opportunity for reform of my entire lifetime. And that you have a matchup of the American people, and this is what Pat Caddell's article does, because he outlines polling data that is just overwhelming about the 75 to 85% majority that wants dramatic change, which is what he says.
By the way, it is telling that Hillary Clinton pulled the plug on her election night fireworks, and it is interesting that Chelsea, for over a decade, her and her family benefited so much financially from the Clinton Foundation, including her wedding dress, money that was, supposed to be used for poor people and good causes and rebuilding Haiti. The corruption is so bad. It is so unprecedented in my view.
No, I think that's right. And I think that we have learned that it is extensive. It's not just the Clintons, but it's virtually everything they've touched. There's no accident that the current Attorney General got her first big job from Bill Clinton. It's no accident that John Podesta and his brother have very close ties to the Russians. You go through item after item after item, and it makes you realize that we had better have, and Trump's speeches are correct about this, we had better have an election
Yeah, you're breaking up, Mr. Speaker. All right, I hope we'll see. I hear you're trying to bail out of my show tonight. That can't happen.
No, I'm not bailing out of your show tonight. I'm trying to work out a way to do it, but I am literally landing as your show starts.
Well, okay, we'll work it out.
And that's why I'm trying to convince your staff that if I phone in, it will count at least 50%.
Don't count 50. Oh, we forgot to mention New Hampshire. Trump needs New Hampshire bad. All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Goodbye.
Hannity Headline, a bite-sized version of the show that you can take with you everywhere you go. To sign up today for Hannity Headlines, go to Hannity.com. A time for choosing. This election, you decide if America lives or dies.
Particularly if you're in certain states, you make that decision. Now, you can't take for granted that every state that Mitt Romney won is going to definitely be won by Donald Trump, but I'm making a pretty safe assumption here. I think, but if you're in these states, it matters. Georgia a little closer for comfort than I'd want, but I think that's coming around for Trump in a pretty big way. I hope, I pray. But if you're in Florida, you matter a lot. Florida is always in play. North Carolina, your country needs you. Ohio, your country needs you. Iowa, your country needs you. And then we go to the other states. The Maine 2nd Congressional District, to all our friends in Maine that listen, we really need you to get out and vote. New Hampshire, you need to get out and vote. Pennsylvania, are you really going to let Philly decide another election? Let's see, who are they bringing in tonight? Obama, Michelle, Hillary, Bruce Springsteen. I'm surprised they didn't bring back Jay-Z and Beyonce to drop a million N-words and a million F-words. But Donald Trump really offends Hillary. She's on stage with the same people. What a phony. Michigan, has your economy gotten better under Barack Hussein Obama? Really? You really think they're going to do any better under Hillary? It's not. What about Wisconsin? What about Minnesota? Can't wait to see your health premiums go up another 100% this year. Pretty exciting. Same with Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada. We got to count on our friends in Utah. Anyway, so I am saying to you that this election is not decided. This election absolutely, positively can be won if those of you in these states want to change the precipitous decline that America now finds itself in. And that means you're going to have to do something, and that's get out of your couch, get out of the house, take time off of work, whatever it takes, and go and stand in line, and it's going to be a long line, and vote. The next thing you need to do is not pay attention to the exit polls. At some point between 4 and 5 and 6 tomorrow, when I'm on the air, there are going to be exit polls. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. They are meaningless. But then the media is going to start to leak, and it's going to be, looks like a Hillary landslide, even if it's not. And they have been wrong time in and time out. You can't pay attention. As a matter of fact, really, at this point, most polls don't matter. Chelsea Clinton caught with her hand in the Clinton Foundation cookie jar. Isn't that nice? Latest WikiLeaks dump show that revealed that the apparent use of the Clinton Foundation money ostensibly intended for, I flew over Haiti once with Reverend Franklin Graham, and it is devastation that you can't even imagine. The entire country was devastated after the earthquake that killed 150,000. Remember, they made 2 sets of lists, Friends of Bill, Clinton Foundation donors. They would have priorities to get the contracts for the multi-million dollar deals so they can profit off of the rebuilding of Haiti, which has never happened because the Clinton Foundation only ends up giving 6% of their resources to actual causes. Well, anyway, on top of that, I see that these newly publicized emails sent by an aide of the former president about Hillary Clinton, Doug Band, that Chelsea was allegedly paid by the foundation to campaign, presumably on behalf of her mother's bid for the White House. Chelsea Clinton has served as an active member of the Clinton Foundation's board of directors for more than 5 years. Newly released emails from Band to Clinton manager John Podesta suggest Chelsea relied heavily on foundation funds to support herself and even drew upon the foundation's coffers to pay for her wedding. In one email, Band urged Podesta to clamp down on her using foundation resources for her wedding and her life for over a decade, warning they could be subjected to an upcoming investigation. Band asked Podesta to speak to her. By the way, and then she said, oh, she's not too bright. Well, that's an understatement. Wonder how the Clintons are feeling about Podesta today. Oh, and Hillary did cancel her fireworks celebration scheduled for New York. Very interesting. A little worried, Hillary? Look, the poll that has been, and I just got done telling you polls don't matter at this point. They really don't, but I'm just going to give you some information. The poll that has been the most accurate in 2004, 2008, 2012 is the Investors Business Daily Tip poll. Donald Trump now has his biggest lead to date. He's up by 2. It is a tight, close race. To be honest, I'm throwing all the other polls out, all of them, because all the other polls are predicated on a turnout model that I don't think is going to apply this year. Now, what does Nate Silver have for Trump? 35%? Something about that. I think it's 2-1 that Hillary could win, and he's under fire for saying it. He's been pretty wrong a lot during this thing as well, and a lot of this campaign. Anyway, I'm just giving you the states that matter. You can't pay attention to any of it, but there is some good news to suggest here. If Hillary, North Carolina is a must-win for Trump. Ohio is a must-win for Trump. Iowa is a must-win for Trump. Florida is a must-win for Trump. Let's start there. It is must-win. And Clinton has other paths, but consensus is if she got any of those states, she's going to be the next president. God help us. But anyway, the early voting, totals now show a very different picture, for example, in North Carolina, and shows that Clinton has underperformed Obama's 2012 performance in North Carolina, and Trump is outperforming Mitt Romney. And Romney won by 2.5 points. And it might seem Democrats have built up an early lead because 1.3 million Democrats already voted compared to 1 million Republicans. But the raw numbers don't account for the 2012 results because Obama had built up an early lead but got trounced by Romney on Election Day. And as of Saturday, the final day of early voting, fewer Democrats had cast ballots, while 125,000 more Republicans voted this time. So if the election shapes up like the last time on Election Day tomorrow, Donald Trump wins North Carolina. And one of the key differences that complicates the data is independent voters came out in droves. I hope they're not voting for Hillary. My gut tells me independents will go with Trump, but I can't say for sure. And anyway, that group broke heavily for Romney in 2012, and I just can't see them voting for Hillary. And we've got other articles that I think suggest the same thing is going on in a wide variety of ways. And, I look at these numbers, I just take them in, and I'm sharing the data with you. I'll give you one big shift is out in Colorado. I actually think at this point, I have more confidence in Trump winning Colorado than I do in Nevada. And if he loses Nevada, he needs Colorado. That means Colorado then becomes must win. Ideally, he wins them both. But anyway, Republicans took the lead in early voting in Colorado at the end of the day Friday, and they held that advantage through the weekend. Despite really robust Democratic get-out-the-vote efforts, the latest early voting numbers released this morning, showed registered Republicans cast 652,380 ballots, compared with 645,020 for Democrats. That's a 7,360 Republican advantage. And the breakdown looks like 35% Republican, 35.2% Republican, 34.8% Democrat, 28.5% unaffiliated. And it's worth noting, not all Republicans, you don't know who's voting which way this year, so you just don't know. But I'll tell you, this is Colorado's very important. Now, if you want to get a look of how Tuesday and how they voted in the past, Barack Obama won with 51.5 to 46.1%. This is not going to be an easy state to win. George Bush won it in 2000 by 8.2. He won it in 04 by 4.6. Obama's won it the last time by 9 and by 5. So Democrats feel good about Colorado in some of the graphics. Republicans feel good in another graphic. But, it's one of those states. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I just don't know. Interesting stuff going on all the way around. You just have to do your thing. You just have to put aside the clutter, put aside the numbers, put aside the predictions, put aside everything, and especially, it really is every state matters. I mean, Democrats are going to complain and whine and scream if they win the popular vote. It doesn't matter. It's the Electoral College that matters. That's how the game is played. Everybody knew the rules going in. All right, big time AJ, Houston, Texas. What's going on, baby? How are you?
Big time Sean Hannity. Hey, America, let not your heart be bamboozled. All right. All them states that Obama took, look around in your state, and he's lying when he said he has helped your state. Your state's in shambles. No jobs, no health care, and they still lying to y'all. Hillary and them went to a black church, and I thought state and church didn't mix. But they had her in that church lying to her under God. I'm like, okay, black folks, look around and see what's going on. They use the race game. All that's out the window. America, save our kids' country. Sean, me and you been at this from day one. I've been with you when the first two times Obama. I scream and holler, shout. I even type in caps until this guy leaves out the White House to wake these idiots up about the bamboozle job that's been going on for the last 8 years. Oh, but you want to let Hillary come in and finish the country off? Come on, America. Wake up. You better than that. We getting ready to come to that voting deal tomorrow, and we going to shine like nobody business. All these numbers are out the window. We will overcome this to save our kids' country, big time, Sean. And thank you for your help. And God bless this country if we lose this thing. But we're not losing because we got God on our side. America, get out and vote. Don't mess around. We got problems. And the media has overlooked it and gave Hillary the pass, and we finding out that they bombing him might fire Comey. Oh, wait a minute now. Nobody's saying nothing about that. Oh, all of a sudden, America, don't get bamboozled a third time. Wake up, people. Wake up. Sean, love you. And tomorrow we will have a landslide on Trump's side. He ain't got all these people out there for nothing. He had a great one today, too. All these people ain't going there for their health. America, let's do it. Time to stop talking. Let's go vote. Love you, Sean.
All right, big time, AJ. I think there you go. If that doesn't motivate you to go, I don't know what's going to motivate you to go. 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of this extravaganza. Don't forget, we have Ann Coulter and Kathleen Saucier at in the next hour. News Roundup tonight. I lay out my case as well on Hannity on the Fox News Channel. All right, let's get one more quick call in here if we can. Let's say hi to Hugh. I don't know where you're calling from, Hugh. Where are you? Hugh in California.
Thanks for reaching out. I'm in Northern California.
What's going on, sir? How are you? Oh, you're the guy that wrote that open letter to Comey.
Thank you for reading my letter. My cousin called me from Nashville, said, I just heard Sean Hannity read your open letter to the director of the FBI on the air, and I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, thank you for what you did. I know every FBI agent that I know, every special agent I know, everybody that does this for a living, they all say the same thing, and that's very simple. They are disgusted with Comey. They feel like the fix has been in. Some of them are even speculating, what do they have on Comey? Why would he act this way? He's making himself look like a clown. And number two, if I did half of what Hillary did, I'd be in jail for how many years?
Long time.
Long time. All I want is equal justice under the law, sir. That's it. I'm not looking for special treatment.
Well, if we lose the rule of law, then we're going to have anarchy, and we're going to have a tyrant in the White House if Mrs. Clinton wins.
Oh, yeah.
That the likes of which we have never seen, and it will not be pretty.
God help us if she ever won. Well, listen, I thought it was very brave of you to write that, and you do have standing, as you said in your letter, and we really appreciate your courage that you showed in doing that, and I think, I hope people understand. She committed crimes. If I did what she did, then we'd be in big trouble, and I'd be in jail, or anybody else would be in jail. Anyway, sir, I got to run.
Mr. Comey knows,
yeah.
But only Mr. Comey knows what he's had to deal with, but he could have been a hero. He chose not to be. And that's where he stands. So God bless you for getting the message out, and America needs to stand up. Americans are angry right now and tired of being lied to, so we need to change it.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. I hope America understands what's at stake here. You know, I only get, this is now the third time in the last, 12 years, or, well, I guess really 8 years, if we go back to Obama. You know, what are we, 2001, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is our fourth election as a national show. Is it our fourth? Yeah. 2001, 2004, 2008, 2012. Yeah, this is our fourth. So I'm just telling you, you're going to get the government you deserve. We were more right about Barack Obama than anyone would ever give us credit for. And we're right about Hillary, too. All right, Ann Coulter makes her final case when we get back, and we'll get to your calls last half hour.
This is the Sean Hannity Show podcast.
This is how we roll. We light it up with our hands up. This is how we roll.
Going out and voting, it's your last chance. It's your last chance to make our country truly, truly, truly great again.
Let's get out! Let's vote for the future! Let's vote for what we want for our country and our children and our grandchildren! God bless you!
The countdown to saving America is on. T-minus 1 day until Election Day. Freedom is back in style. Welcome to the revolution.
We burning down the night, shooting bullets at the moon, baby. This is how we roll.
Sean Hannity. The new Sean Hannity Show. More behind-the-scenes information on breaking news and more bold, inspired solutions for America. Stay right here for our final news roundup and information overload.
The laws and regulations in effect when I was Secretary of State allowed me to use my email for work. That is undisputed. It clearly wasn't the best choice. And I take responsibility for that decision. I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone. Okay, in full disclosure,
BlackBerry.
And a BlackBerry. I have an iPad, a mini iPad, an iPhone, and a BlackBerry. I believe I have met all of my responsibilities, and the server will remain private. In order to be as cooperative as possible, we have turned over the server. They can do whatever they want to with the server. I am confident that I never sent nor received any information that was classified at the time it was sent and received. So that leaves the 100 out of 30,000 emails that Director Comey testified contained classified information. I did not receive anything that was marked as classified. Director Comey said that only 3 out of 30,000 had anything resembling classified markers.
You were the official in charge. Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
No. Well,
no. We turned over everything that was work-related. Every single thing.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States. The investigations into her crimes will go on for a long, long time. The rank and file special agents at the FBI won't let her get away with her terrible crimes, including the deletion of 33,000 emails after receiving a congressional subpoena. They forget about all of this. Right now, she is being protected by a rigged system. It's a totally rigged system. I've been saying it for a long time. You can't review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. You can't do it, folks. Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it. And now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box on November 8th.
No true statement, news roundup, and information overload. Our final hour on radio now until you get to go to the polls and decide the fate of your country. You're going to drain the swamp. Are you going to elect the most dishonest, the most corrupt, the most self-enriching people that have ever sought that office? And it's beyond corruption. By the way, wasn't it nice the foundation had such a good relationship with Chelsea? They even used money for poor people to buy her an expensive wedding dress.
Yes, I'm sure the Haitians thought, no, don't bother building those structures for us. Spend it on Chelsea's wedding.
By the way, that voice you know is the one and only Ann Coulter, and she's written a great piece, not only her book, which is a best-selling book now, In Trump We Trust. She wrote, My Final Argument for Trump, Humiliate the Media. There's a reckoning coming. I just told you before we came on the air. After this election, there is going to be war declared by me against every corrupt media figure that has been in bed with Hillary this entire campaign.
Right, and just the incessant lying. I mean, what people, if you're listening and you're on the fence and you're worried about some of the things you've heard about Trump, first of all, it is all lies, and it would have, anyone who takes Trump's positions would have been torn to shreds. It's almost as if he's cheating. He goes out and just, picks $1,000 bill that's lying on the sidewalk. Hey, anybody else want to take this? Mitt Romney, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, want to pick up this $1,000 bill lying on the sidewalk? He just goes and takes the most popular issue of most popular side of every issue, whether it's building a wall, on taking America's side on immigration, no more pointless wars in the Middle East, ending these disastrous trade deals. Buicks are now being made in China. I was just watching earlier today, Obama lying up in Detroit, as we Michiganders, I went to law school there, call Detroit, about how, Donald Trump he said the auto companies should go bankrupt. Remember, I had the bailout. It's utter nonsense. It was a CNBC interview in 2008, which I tweeted out today, if you'd like to see it, by the way. And what he's talking about, he's relying on the ignorance of his voters, of Hillary's voters, which they do all the time, of thinking bankruptcy means you get driven into the ground. No, I think as Trump has demonstrated, bankruptcy, when it's just a reorganization of a company, it's a way of reorganizing. And he said, yes, we should bail them out. There should be financing from the government. There should be a reorganization so the creditors get paid. But he has all these great quotes in the interview about how the health of GM, Ford, and Chrysler, this is crucial to the financial success of America. This is important to America. Obama's just lying about it. And that's how, he beat Romney.
See how pissed off that he got the other day? It's pretty interesting. Look, Obama...
With the auto bailout, that's what the fact that Hillary is even in these states and has to, appeal to, the day before the election, to African-American voters does suggest to me, and is going to what have been blue states, suggests to me that they're not quite so confident about that 50-state landslide I've been hearing about for the past 6 months.
I've been hearing the same thing. I made my closing arguments. I'm going to do it again, doing my whole A block, 15 minutes tonight. I'll do it on TV alone, just laying out the case for Donald Trump and why we can't elect her.
The 13 points I had in my column on that, it was lies from the media. And, I could have gone on for 50 points. I didn't even get to the lie about Trump mocking a disabled reporter, which you can see on Catholics for Trump. There are the videos. This is how Trump imitates a flustered person. He has done the exact same imitation. In fact, in that speech, so the media knew they were lying, because later in that same speech, he did an imitation of a general being flustered. Does the exact same arms waving, mouth hanging open. He's done the same imitation of himself being flustered. So, fine, he's not going to be a sketch actor on Saturday Night Live, okay. But he was not mocking a disabled person. And by the way, Serge Kovaleski, that was the reporter at issue that has been allowed himself to be lied about for the greater good of slandering Donald Trump. For one thing, he was flustered. He deserved to be attacked. That was a very important punchback, and I'll get to that in a moment. I have a whole chapter in my book on it. But most importantly, his disability isn't what Trump was doing. Trump was doing if you were claiming it was a disability, you're imagining somebody with epilepsy or spastic or something. No. Kovaleski it's almost the opposite. His wrists are locked in place, so it's as if he did. If you're trying to do an imitation of a blind person, you don't limp. So, of course, he was not.
Let me ask you
and
this.
if it's a horrible thing to mock a disabled person, isn't it an equally horrible thing to falsely accuse someone of mocking a disabled person?
But the left does this every election. They falsely accused poor Mitt Romney of hating women and being racist and not caring about anybody but the rich.
But it was a love fest compared to the way they're treating
of course.
Trump.
Well, look, I love what you say, humiliate the media. There is going to be a reckoning with the news media, and I am going to lead the charge up the hill, whatever happens, win, lose, or draw tomorrow. Look, I spent over a year and a half laying out the case about how bad Obama would be, and I wish I was wrong. You were there laying out the case as well, and I'm taking shots, bullets, arrows fired from every direction, in both in 07, 08, and 2012, and it's the same thing here. I can predict with certainty her economic plan is going to hurt this country, her foreign policy is going to hurt this country, her corruption is beyond the stench.
Right.
We're going to be paralyzed. But I made my case. What is your closing argument? Why do you want people in Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Maine, in Wisconsin, and Michigan, and Minnesota, and Pennsylvania, and Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada? This is no longer Democrats versus the Republicans. It's the ruling class against the American people. I don't care what your political party is. This is Wall Street, the hedge funds, the political consultants, Washington, D.C., and as we have seen, the entire media protecting their privileges, their cheap labor, their fake virtue. Hillary wants open borders. She says she has vowed to grant amnesty to all illegal aliens in this country. Boy, we keep hearing about Donald Trump not giving us specifics. We haven't gotten any specifics from Hillary Clinton. How many? How about the felons? Does she amnesty them? She says if she can't get Congress to pass it, she'll do it the way Barack Obama did. And since she's going to get the next, if she wins, she will get the next Supreme Court nominee. That will be upheld. That means immediately another 40, 50 million voters for the Democrats. It's the end of America. There is no point in caring about politics anymore. There's no point to what you do, I do, Fox News, talk radio. The entire country becomes California. And by the way, soon the Democrats are gone, too. They think they're going to be living on High Street. Look at the Democratic Party in California. It isn't the Democratic Party as we conceive of it nationally in a multicultural society, in an ethnically diverse society. As the president of Singapore told the Financial Times about a decade ago, people stop voting their ethnic, or their political interests, their social interests, their economic interests. They vote their ethnic group. And that's exactly what's happened in California. You don't have like Nancy Pelosi Democrats against Joe Biden, third way Democrats, blue-collar Democrats. What you have is black Democrats against Asian Democrats, against Hispanic Democrats. Soon we'll have the Muslim Democrats. It's the end of America as we conceive of it. I mean, this is for everyone who lives here. The Trans-Pacific Partnership goes through immediately. Any remaining jobs that haven't already been shipped to Mexico. Just look at the Supreme Court, Dan. I mean, the Supreme Court alone will shift and change this country for generations.
That's true of any Democrat, but particularly with Hillary, the corruption, the end through third world immigration. And I assume the immigrants who came to this country because they didn't want to be living in their old countries. They wanted to be living in America. Well, they will have gone to a lot of trouble, and they won't be living in America anymore, and nor will Americans. We'll be homesick forever.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, so, look, everybody keeps asking me. I'm sure every airport you walk through, like I do, and any cafe you go in, or I'm sure you get lattes at Starbucks, Miss Coulter.
Well, I just got one from Lauren. Thank you.
Oh, okay, but the question, well, Lauren's going to open her own shop. Look, everyone wants me to be able to tell them what's going to happen tomorrow, and my answer is I honestly don't know. I do like the trends.
The issue is, I think I've thought from the beginning he has 90% chance of winning the nomination and 60% chance of winning the election, but that's a pretty big chance for the end of America. This isn't Reagan versus Mondale anymore, where we have, a tough 4 years, Republicans lose, we think the policies aren't as great. This is it. This is your last chance, America. And the way my electoral map goes, it's the question is, has the Teddy Kennedy's 1965 Immigration Act so transformed the country, brought in so many foreigners to outvote Americans that we can't win anymore? Because you look at these rallies, you look at the enthusiasm Donald Trump, this movement is getting Democrats. I think he will get more black votes, as you know, than any other Republican since Nixon, or black voters won't rush out, won't knock themselves out to vote. I think he will do at least as well as other Republicans with Hispanics. But interestingly, a few weeks ago, I saw a poll. Trump was winning with Hispanics who speak English, not with Hispanics who don't speak English.
Apparently he's doing well with Cuban Americans down in
he's doing
Miami.
well with Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. If they speak English, they'd like their wages to go up. The issue is, yes, we can win immigrants over eventually, but when they come in, live among themselves, speak their own language, they are pandered to by ethnic activist groups, and we're doing the Sorcerer's Apprentice thing. As we're converting the ones who came in, 10, 20 years ago, the Democrats are bringing in another 2 million every year. You can't fight that. And the issue is, and this is why I was a little ticked off with Wisconsin, both with Paul Ryan and not voting for Trump in the primary. What happens in these states is it's as if you need a certain percentage of third world immigrants to recognize what the problem is. But if you have too many, you're at the point of no return. That's California. I think Trump, I never had Trump winning Florida. I never had him winning Colorado because of the large Hispanic populations. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I have him winning more the industrial Midwest on my map. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. I think he's going to win Michigan. I think he has a good shot at Wisconsin, good shot at Minnesota, states we haven't taken for a while. I think he has a shot at Oregon.
And if we add our maps together, this is a bombshell landslide that'll send the country liberals into a freak out because I have Florida on my map.
Well,
and
he's doing well in the polls, but contrary to what they're telling you in the media, he doesn't have to win Florida. That was never part of my map. And by the way, I don't think he's going to win. I'm not claiming he's going to win all of those states. He only needs to win 2 or 3 of the ones I just mentioned, because those are, I don't think, and by the way, for 8 years, Obama has been flying in Central Americans and Mexicans to Detroit.
Look where they're putting them.
Yeah, the states they need to turn.
The states strategically have been placing
they have not been winning the argument. They have brought in ringers.
All right, and I got to let you go.
Vote Trump, even if you're in New York or California, because they're going to whine about the popular vote. And please get in Trump we trust.
All right, thank you. Ann Coulter, good to see you.
Good to see you.
There's going to be a war either way in the Republican Party by me against them and against the media starting probably the day after tomorrow.
Hannity Headline, a bite-sized version of the show that you can take with you everywhere you go. To sign up today for Hannity Headlines, go to Hannity.com. A time for choosing. You decide if America lives or dies.
I told Senator Kaine last night, if either of our sons in the military handled classified information the same way Secretary Clinton did, they'd be court-martialed. I mean, that's the hard truth of all this. And the American people are tired of it.
When you talk about apology, I think the one that you should really be apologizing for, and the thing that you should be apologizing for, are the 33,000 emails that you deleted and that you acid washed. And then the 2 boxes of emails and other things last week that were taken from an office and are now missing. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. And I hate to say it, but if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception. There has never been anything like it. And we're going to have a special prosecutor. When I speak, I go out and speak. The people of this country are furious. In my opinion, the people that have been long-term workers at the FBI are furious. There has never been anything like this, where emails and you get a subpoena, and after getting the subpoena, you delete 33,000 emails. And then you acid wash them, or bleach them, as you would say. So we're going to get a special prosecutor, and we're going to look into it, because you know what? People have been, their lives have been destroyed for doing one 1/5 of what you've done. And it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
She should be ashamed of herself. Glad you're with us. 25 now till the top of the hour. All right, Election Day is here, final half hour. I will lay out my final argument for Donald Trump, why he should be elected tonight on TV. Otherwise, you will get the president you deserve. You will get the single most corrupt, the single most dishonest, the single most self-enriching candidate in the history of the country. I'll get to that in a minute. There's Donald Trump, though, talking about, we already know her maid is printing out emails, classified emails. Oh, well, if her name happened to be Kristian Saucier, she'd be in jail right now. Remember we talked about him? He had taken six pictures inside a submarine on his cell phone. There was no cell phone ban on submarines at the time. Technology was new. The Navy hadn't caught up with it yet. And anyway, other kids had taken the same pictures, and they were only reduced in rank and given a fine of $560. Unfortunately, he lost his cell phone. He's now in jail, as his mother, as his wife, as his little 1-year-old baby is at home waiting for daddy to get out of jail for 6 pictures. That's it. What a bunch of hypocrisy. Before we get to your phone calls here, Kathleen Saucier is with us. She's the mother of the U.S. Navy sailor, Kristian Saucier. Now, how often are you getting to see him?
Well, thank you so much again, Mr. Hannity, for letting me talk about double standards. We get to see him every week, which we're so blessed that we have that opportunity. I want to mention one thing. You mentioned leading in about all the reasons or all the things about who we'd have as a president if Hillary Clinton got in. But one thing you missed was that part about we'll have a very dangerous president. I want to say that, when the judge sentenced my son, he said one of the things he saw was a mistake, and then he clarified that and said a very dangerous mistake by mishandling classified information. You said on the lead-in 6 photos on the behalf of my son, which were considered a very dangerous mistake. Well, thousands and thousands of emails on the part of Hillary Clinton. So I would say that not only would she be all those other things, but she'd also be a very dangerous president to our national security. I want to mention, you talked about the double standard in the prosecution. Well, let's talk about the double standard in the investigation, because here I was, a federal employee at the time with an outstanding record, and I was held at gunpoint without a warrant, interrogated for 10 hours total. And I believe Hillary Clinton's interrogation, if we can call it that, was maybe 3 hours of what I saw in the press. So whether that was accurate or not, I'm not. But as American citizens, as patriots, we should be terrified if this woman becomes president of the United States, because we will all be potentially held at that same double standard, where if we just make a mistake or do something that's a dangerous mistake, we're in prison. Whereas she can just say, oops, I made a mistake, and let me just clear that off my record and go forward and run for president of the United States.
Yeah, well, listen. It's unbelievable to me, the double standard. It's so sad to me what your family has had to go through. And I know your son is tough. I know he's going to make it out, and I know he's going to be okay in the end. But what a disgrace that we have a justice system for one, the elite, the connected, the rich, the powerful, and then we have another justice system for the rest of America, people like your son.
And I agree with you. I think we should all be very, very careful, cautious as we walk into that voting booth, and remember that we're voting and we're making a choice not just for ourselves, but every other American citizen in the United States that's held to this other standard other than what Hillary Clinton and her staff and the corrupt that's presently in Washington, D.C. So I know we have very short time. My biggest thing is please go on to our American Patriots Against Double Standards Facebook page. Please pray for my family, and God bless America, and pray for all of us as you walk into
By the way,
booth.
you need help, I think, for your son and your family and the attorneys and everything. You have a GoFundMe ad somewhere?
The GoFundMe page is also on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And
it's on my
also,
page, Hannity.com. I'll make it easy. It's on Hannity.com, okay?
Thank you. God bless you so much. Take
All right.
care. And
all right,
be
Kathleen,
safe.
say your prayers for tonight.
Amen.
I laid out my closing arguments at the start of the show today. Hillary could never win on Obama's economy. She can't win on her foreign policy failures. She can't win on her character, being honest and trustful and truthful. I mean, she's so flawed, it's ridiculous. And I know some of you maybe are tuning in today. Maybe you don't tune in on a regular basis. I hope you will after this election is over, because there's a lot of unfinished business with this campaign, including a corrupt, abusively biased, corrupt news media. I tried to warn all of you in 2000 and 2008, 2007 even, and 2012 about how bad Obama would be. This is as big a choice election as I've seen in my lifetime. You got one candidate, Hillary. She'll raise your taxes and raise spending. That means more deficits for your kids. Donald Trump's going to cut taxes, and he's going to stimulate the economy, and he's going to make the country energy independent. As Hillary brags, she's going to put coal miners out of work and coal companies out of business. This is your choice. You know, she wants to continue with Obamacare. Just fix it. Fix it into what, a single-payer system? An unmitigated disaster. You didn't keep your doctor, your plan. You didn't save $2,500 a year. You're paying $4,100 a year since Obamacare's been in place, and you lost your doctors and your plan, rather. You know, the Supreme Court, this will define America for generations. She will appoint activists to the Supreme Court, liberal Supreme Court activists that don't believe in separation of powers, co-equal branches of government. Donald Trump is going to put people on the Supreme Court that understand separation of powers, co-equal branches of government, that aren't going to be citing foreign constitution to justify their judicial activism. You want a president that can identify our enemy, radical Islam, or somebody that's afraid to say it like Hillary Clinton? Do you think it's a good idea to bring in refugees from countries whose values and culture that they were raised in are the antithesis of American constitutional values? In other words, they tell women how to dress. They tell women they can't drive. They tell women whether they can go to work or school. In some cases, marital rape is legal. By the way, they all donate to Hillary Clinton's foundation. Pretty corrupt. Or do you think it's better that we can help victims of a civil war? We could set up a safe zone, provide food, medicine, water, supplies, cots, blankets, whatever they need, and protect them with other nations. And they could pay for it. We could do all that. Or we're going to take them all in. And what happens when one of them, you know, as Clapper and Comey and, let's see, Steinbeck and McCall and General Allen, all these people warn that ISIS will infiltrate that population? Or do you prefer Donald Trump's extreme vetting and a safe zone? I prefer the safe zone and extreme vetting. You want border security? We need border security. What happens? A lot of people cross the borders. They want jobs. Well, we have 95 million Americans out of the labor force. Okay, so they'll be competing with those Americans for the limited jobs available, driving down wages. But there's also the guy that wants to commit an act of terror in your town, your city, or your state. That's what's at stake this election. That's why building a wall is smart. You want our military to remain in decline? Elect Hillary. You want to rebuild the military? Elect Trump. You want America's role in the world to be a little smarter? Or do you want to continue the idiocy of starting wars, pulling out after 5,000 Americans die and handing it over to ISIS? Or Benghazi. They deny 600 requests before, they deny help during, and they lie and cover up after. That's the choice in this election. It is deep and it is profound. You want to fix your broken VA? Trump's promised to fix it. Hillary hasn't done a damn thing. You want education to continue failure, and especially in inner cities in America? Elect Hillary, because you're going to get top-down, NEA-sponsored, supported, because they fund Democrats, Common Core, and you're going to pay more money per capita per student and come in 18, 22, and 26 reading, writing, and math. Good luck with that. Good luck to your kids with that. These differences are deep and they are profound. The economy, energy, Obamacare, the Supreme Court, saying radical Islam, refugees, border security, the military, the VA, our role in the world, education. It all matters. It's all profound. You think the economy is so good? I tried to warn you about Obama. Worst recovery since the 40s. Lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. The unemployment number they give you is a lie. It is corrupt. It is dishonest because they don't count the long-term unemployed. You've got 13 million more Americans on food stamps since Obama became president. 8 million more Americans in poverty since Obama became president. Now, at the end of his 8 years, you got a 51-year low in the home ownership rate. The first president never to reach 3% GDP growth in American history. You have 1 in 5 of your fellow American families without a single family member in the labor force. You got 1 in 6 American men, 18 to 34, prime working years, in jail or living in mommy and daddy's basement. How's he been for black America? 93% black Americans supported Obama. Well, they've seen a 58% increase on food stamps. A 20% increase black Americans out of the labor force. By the time Obama leaves office, He'll accumulate more debt than 43 presidents before him combined. The choice is Trump will lower taxes, end burdensome regulation, reform the tax code. You go from 7 brackets to 3. More than 50% of taxpayers will pay zip in federal income taxes. 50% of you will pay nothing, not a penny. He's going to push for GDP growth at 4+%. He'll incentivize multinational corporations to bring back the trillions overseas so they can build their factories and their manufacturing centers here in the U.S. We'll go from the highest corporate tax rate to one of the lowest. That means corporations will build their factories here. That's a great incentive. It's a great incentive. You think the fair deals are good? I want free trade. I want fair trade. Let's keep Americans working. You want energy independence? I want energy independence. What's Hillary's plan? $1.2 trillion in tax increases, $1.4 trillion in spending increases. Hillary is against lower tax rates for corporations. She wants coal miners out of work, coal companies out of business, against drilling, against fracking, and she's more interested, I guess, in keeping her Saudi and Qatari and UAE friends happy. You like Obamacare? Oh, Hillary voted for it. Well, it's devastated our health care system. No keep your doctor, no keep your plan, no save money, and she's doubling down on it. Millions lost their doctor. Average increase, $4,100 a year. It's an epic fail. Aetna, Blue Cross, all United, they're all leaving because they can't make money. How about free market competition, health savings accounts? That makes such a big difference, such a huge difference. I just don't know the extent to which, I wish I could tell you. I don't have a crystal ball. You're going to hear this tomorrow night at some point, maybe in the early morning on Wednesday. Fox News projects. Who do you want them to say is the 45th president of the United States? Who do you want? Who do you think will be better for you and your family and your country? What do you want in the world? That's what is at stake here. She's failed in Iran. She's failed in Iraq. She's failed in Syria. She's failed in Libya. She's failed in the Egypt Arab Spring. She's failed in Russia. She's failed in North Korea. She's failed in China. Epic failure. Go ahead. Good luck with that. But don't call this program and tell me I didn't warn you. Don't you dare call my program and tell me I didn't warn you. I warned you in 2008. I warned you in 2012. You will get the country you deserve after tomorrow. Good luck with it. If you love your country, there's a moral imperative that you see what is at stake here. Get your ass off the couch and out of your car, and I don't care if you have to wait 10 hours. Wait, and don't believe the exit polls tomorrow. They're full of crap. They get it wrong year in and year out. That's all I can tell you. I'd love to save this country and put it on a new trajectory. He's not perfect. No, I know. Neither am I. And neither are any of you.